Hello. I am in a very nice summer day in London. They don't occur very often. So we all feeling a very nice descent of warming heat. So what I wanted to talk today a little bit is I understand that it's very often when we communicate not to become pedantic. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes a discussion, an exchange of ideas and states of minds and feelings get hijacked and derailed by kind of semantics. Oh, you use the word consciousness, but yeah, but I don't like that word. You should have said that. No, you should have said that. So, and we start going into circles. We're not anymore really communicating from the heart, from a desire to really exchange something creative, but it becomes a show of who is more clever than the other. So I don't want you to do that, and I'll be careful not to. But what I want to talk about is about this meaning that I hear all the time amongst people that are interested in spirituality, and it's about this ego, the ego. And we always talk, and I understand why, fully understand why. We always talk about it as a very destructive and negative force. I've even heard terms like we need to crucify the ego. So a poor little thing, put it on a cross, and put nail through his hands. And so everything is about letting go of the ego and so forth. And there is a lot of truth in that. And I respect very much when we say that, when we have this concept. But sometimes I'm just slightly concerned because we create this demon, called the ego. And we have to dedicate our life to battle this demon, to destroy it, or to realize that it is completely unreal, which is not there. It doesn't exist. It was a demon that was doing all those kind of things, and now it doesn't exist. So let me tell you a little bit this perception, this kind of vision. So if we say that everything is energy, like in other videos we spoke about the quantum state of energy from which everything emerge like waves, like sparkles that create waves, and universes come out of that. So if everything is this energy, which is not very unreasonable to say, so let's look at it in this manner. So various waves come out of there, of this energy. And somehow these waves are that energy, but somehow they're in a different state of manifestation. And these waves, we can say they are infinite. And in that, the energy is aware of every possibility, of every form of creation, of every sensation. It's totally full, of everything. So that's why it's so totally complete within itself. And for some mystery, okay, this is a bit complex to intuit, but let's say for some mystery, after a while, these waves, they begin to assume a personality of its own, because they're all possibilities. They're all different universes. But in a first stage, when that awareness comes that, oh, I am, like I'm separate from this, from that, and so forth, at first there is quite an harmony there, because they all know their origin. But as they expand and as time passes, because by then space and time has begun, because you have got all these entities, separate entities, so because of this mystery, this perception begins, I'm different than you. And then the fear comes, you are taking my space, you have done something to me. And now I perceive you not only as different, a different manifestation, but I begin to perceive you as an enemy, as a rival, as someone that I have to strive to annihilate and destroy. And from there, this universe comes with these eyes, battling, against each other. So this eye of awareness that was at the beginning, whereby I know where I come from and I know my infinity in a way, at least as feelings, as love and happiness within myself, that gets lost. And then I start living in a universe which is inimical and is in opposition to itself and to everything else. So there we can say there is the emergency of what people call this ego, because then we start building a personality based on I am superior to you, or I am so and so. Nothing wrong with being unique. You are a violin player, I'm a piano player, but we can play together. We can make music together, rather than start a fight, I'm superior than you and I'm a better musician than you. See what I mean? So once we start getting into this contraposition, this ego personality begins to emerge. I'm so and you are so and so it's me against you, or I want what you have, and what you have too, and what you have as well. So the greed, the hatred, you see, and then, as the Buddha said, the greed, the hatred, and the delusion. I'm this and I am that. So that's why most mystic paths said actually the path consists in realizing the futility of this ego. Yes, on this earth we need boundaries, but that is not what our true persona is. Our true persona comes from that higher realm, and it got caught in this realm partially of our creation too. So when the suffering becomes too much, then the anchoring for a journey begins. Who am I? What is this all about? Why all this suffering? Why all this hatred and opposition and greed, that you have more and more and more and more, but it never satisfies you. That is what the Buddha really defined as suffering. It's pursuing things that can never totally fulfill you as we would like that they should do. So many mystics then begin on this journey as to what's this life about. And there are two main paths, then with many branches, but there are two main paths that begin this journey. On one side is loving something higher than yourself, kind of thing, and aspiring to it. But very often the journey goes very wrong, because then we create all kind of nightmarish scenarios, some creator that tortures us, and then we start killing ourselves about that. But I'm talking of people that are truly spiritual and serious. And so one part of them, they begin this journey inquiring as to, who am I really? Am I really this contraction? And so this search begins. And there is the feeling, the inspiration that there is something higher, to which I am connected. I am not just totally conditioned by this world, more and more and more and more, the greed, you see. That is not what fulfills me. That is not what gives me happiness. So what is it that can give me this happiness? So the search starts. Another very important part is more the path of mindfulness, and the both can work together very well. It's not that they are opposite, but some choose one more than the other. And the mindfulness is the breathing in, the breathing out, and slowly, slowly really come to know ourselves, of our mind operates. I've made videos on that. You can see my videos on mindfulness. I put a link afterwards. So, and you begin to see what is really constricting you. But you begin to see it without an ego trying to justify it. Oh, well, I'm an aggressive, angry person because that is so and so, so and so, so and so, But it begins to see it without this centeredness. And that pain, that wave begins again to decontract and again expand. And on the journey, we then arrive at moments where then we get moments of inspiration. I mean, in some Buddhist Mahayana schools, they say satoris. I like that. It's not like one final satori, but there are awakenings, that it goes in levels. And in these awakenings, you go, this is what's really deep within me. This is what really matters. This is what I truly am. And very often, we stop at a certain level thinking that we have reached the highest, but still there is some I left in there and ego left, and you need to go further. But then, some of us can turn around and go, yeah, it's this ego, that has been all the problem, the ego, And I'm beginning more to feel in those terms. This ego is not that bad. It's just a child that somehow got stuck in a dark room and got really scared, not knowing that there was a light that he could put on. And so it got engulfed in that fear and in that aggression to try to protect himself. So as we start coming out of that, and sometimes we expand. Now, to me, what my perception as more being is a perception of loving kindness, also of the ego. Because actually, yes, this separated, hateful ego is not our final reality. But it's neither away from this reality. It's still this I that because of some kind of illusion, Maya, somehow it misunderstood its nature and ended up getting lost in this forest. And then for a moment, he thought to be something else. So when it starts awakening to its reality, it really deep down is not even different from that ego. It's still the same person, but is now beginning to awaken. So let's say that this wave then remembers, I'm the ocean. Now to many, that is the reaching point, the finale, the grandiose finale. There is this sense of merger, of going back, of pure love and happiness. And then the main terminology used is more like I am divine, the ego has disappeared, or there was no ego, the illusion, Um, but with me is if the ocean is experimenting itself as a wave, an infinite number of waves, you know. So I'll take the expression that some people use, you know, and the ocean experimenting itself as a drop. So even if I go back to this realization of my true nature, but I know that that story of the drop, it still has the conditioning of centuries, either through my DNA or past lives, whatever. It's still there, and there is still a lot of it that needs to get exhausted. You know, people just think, oh, I've had a Satori, that's it, it's all gone. No, I'm afraid it doesn't. You still need to keep working from level to level. But, you know, there are playlists where I talk about that. So the strange thing, as we entered from that love into a state of repose, of no thing, not nothing in the negative way, but it means that peace within you is just latent, is just there, a no thing, is not due to anything, it's just part of our nature, you see. So when that realization comes, there is even a dropping of the idea of alignment and I'm this and I'm not that. To me, what I feel the most beautiful thing is to be the child of this incarnation, of this body. And as I've said in other videos, they used to call me Carlito, little Charlie. You know, my parents, they were Italian. Not Carlitos, as the Spaniards or South Americans, but the Italians, Carlito. So what I'm really enjoying now is being that child again, is having that simplicity, you know, and that somehow, you know, everybody's divine, but is just having a bad dream at the moment. And sometimes there is not much we can do about it. So that is why when I talk to people, I don't go very much about the ego, the ego, the ego. You know, if there was this horrible entity we need to torture, to crucify, to hurt, to kill, you know. No, it's just, to me, it's just a question. It is like taking a little baby and soothing it, and soothing it. And it screams and it shouts, and you look at it, you understand what the pain, where the pain is coming from. And you allay it, you release it, you soothe it, yes? And then it's fine to complete this incarnation being a human being, you know, not giving up my humanity, not giving up my ego, my I. No, 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 no. You know, come all ye, let all children come to me, you know, because in their heart is the kingdom of heaven, you see. So that is why in my approach, I am kinder towards this term, ego, you see. So I use more the term excessive contraction, because some contraction we need. You know, our muscles stay in place and like that. We need some contraction. If we cross the road, we need to be alert. But the problem is that we overdo it, and then we think that we are all the time under attack, and then we have to attack. And the beauty is when we let go of that. So to conclude this talk, the resume of it is that I'm talking about soothing rather than attacking. Yes, sometimes we have to say no, you know, but when possible, the approach, you know, is saying, calm down, everything is okay, you know, I'm here. And, you know, just gently release it, relax it, let it go, you know, because everything is okay. you see. So in that sense, then the child, with all its story, with all its pain, with all its incarnations, comes back home. You see? And when that child comes back home, it doesn't have to disappear as such. Then it remains. But so to speak, it's a bit like it's in heaven by then. Ramana Maharishi, the great Indian saint, said something very beautiful. Whatever is within the self, I mean that divine being, is real. Whatever is outside that self is unreal. Because what it means is, if we think that we are out of that unity, that interconnection as part of the whole, and made of the sense of that wholeness, if we think that we are something totally separated, then it is unreal. Because that is not the case. There is nothing that exists totally of its own, But if you know that we are part of that whole, that wholeness, so we have the peace and the love that goes with that realization, then everything is real, you see? So that childhood, that unicity, that sound, that note, which is unique to me as Carlito, and your uniqueness, it's part of a great orchestra that we all play together in tune. Okay? So let's relax in that. Let's pursue that. And may all beings be at peace, and may all beings be happy.